Hello there, you crazy amigos. Thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me. As you can notice in the title of this video, Change Link Fencing. Should you take a job installing a fence for somebody else, or do you need to install a Change Link fence for yourself? Well, basically, this is what this video it's all about. Let me explain that to you. A few months ago, my boss, the guy I work for, decided that he needed to expand a little bit into this new property that he owns, and we were gonna have more storage, more of a storage area. We arranged to have this lot clean and prep for us to have more storage capacity at work. Industrial and agricultural products. What is most common in cases like that is to use Change Link fencing, and it has to be 7 feet tall, plus the wiring on the top about 8 feet tall. Those are the requirements. Has to be sturdy, strong. That's pretty much it. He came up to me and asked what I was thinking, if we can do it ourselves, and I basically said, well, you know what, Ben, I've never done this before. Let me look into it. And that's exactly what he said. Yeah, look into it and get some pricing. All right, so in that whole process, I did quite a bit of research and ended up watching a lot of YouTube videos on do-it-yourself, Change Link fencing and all that sort of thing. And at one point I decided, listen, yes, we can do that. We can tackle this project. I mean, it's time consuming, as I can see, but it can easily be done. Well, I opened my fucking big mouth and it's getting done, but nothing short of being easy, and that is for sure. All right, let me get right into it. When people watch videos on how to do stuff, a do-yourself type of project, we take value in that information, and based on what we're seeing, we get that perception that we can do it, which is okay. I mean, one of the reasons we do that type of research. What I notice in those videos is it's the lack of detailed information that is going to give you the clues whether you should do it or not. My first observation: what is the level of skill that you need in order to get something like this done? And I'll say that if you are a handyman and your level of skill is 6, you can easily tackle a job like this. As long as you can use the measuring tape correctly, as long as you can square something properly, you know how to use the level, and you have the mental toughness, because it's a physical demanding job, you can do it. You can actually tackle a project like this. This is actually quite large. It's 120 feet by 240. That is a lot of fencing for 2 guys. And right there was my first mistake. I didn't realize how physically demanding this can be. I mean, the rolls are actually quite heavy, and you have to pick them up. I'll say that 2 guys will probably struggle, as we did, lifting these rolls up and actually spread them along the posting, okay? So yes, this is the kind of work that you will require to pay somebody to come and help you. Do not ask your buddies for a favor, because your buddies will actually most likely eventually tell you to fuck off. This is way too much work to ask a friend for help. That would be very unethical, and I don't think any friend, as much as he cares for you, will appreciate having to endure the physical labor that this kind of work requires. No, if he comes and if he charges you, perfectly fine. That would be great. And if not, you remember this part. You owe that person a huge favor, because this is physically intense work. Any Change Link fencing, it's done in 2 stages. First, you gotta square the property, make sure that the posts are gonna be lined up. You need to understand that, and you need to be good at it, because if you don't, then your fence is gonna look like a snake running away from a monkey, okay? So you don't wanna do that. You wanna make sure that you understand, or the person that you're gonna hire to do that understands how to square and how to properly measure for fencing. Once Once you have that, you got to dig the holes, and you actually have to set the holes. You got to do a little bit of research on that. And for a type of fence like this, I'll say that 4 feet is required, especially in the corners. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of pulling, so you're gonna need at least 4 feet on the corners, and you definitely have to go below the frost line. Otherwise, it's just gonna pop out, it's gonna be weak, and you're gonna have a lot of failure fairly soon. This type of material can easily last you 35 years, especially the one that we fabricate in Canada, here in Ontario. It's galvanized. It's one of the best galvanization process in the world, believe it or not. And so we're lucky that we can purchase something with that life expand. Okay, one of the reasons is expensive. What is the ongoing rate for change link fencing? 85 cents linear feet install. Okay, so keep that in mind, because it's a lot of money. The concrete has to be cured. That means that you have to give, once you set the post and lay the concrete, you have to give them at least 21 days before you can put tension on the posts. Okay, very, very, very important. Keep that. There's a lot of people who continue to believe that you can do that you have to do a wet pour, but based on the new materials and the additives on concrete, you can do a dry pour. I strongly recommend a dry pour. We didn't do a dry pour here because old school for the people who's actually writing the checks, but it would be easier to do it with a dry pour, especially in a place like this. During springtime, it can easily heal properly and gives you the opportunity and the advantage to set the post as you go. So you come, you do the dry post, you take a look, you take a measurement, you draw those lines, make sure that you're nice and straight, and 3 or 4 hours later, maybe you can come and reset again, and that you can even take up to 8 hours before you can move your post, making them perfectly in line with each other. Okay, that's one of the advantages of doing a dry pour. Very well. My second piece of advice: once you've done the research and you've seen a lot of videos on how to do it, make sure that you buy the proper tools for this job. Okay, and please do not rent tools, because they're actually, the rental can be triple expensive, and it doesn't make any sense. And you may say, well, why should I buy tools that I'm only going to use once? Okay, maybe you know somebody who can eventually rent them from you, or you can resell them again. This is a wiring pulling tool. Cost me $70. All right. The rental of this tool is $65 and $8 a day. So I've been pulling wire for about a week and a half. Just imagine the amount of money that you will spend renting versus just owning a piece of equipment that eventually you can clean up, paint, and just resell it, maybe half a price. Still you'll be ahead of the game by owning the tool as opposed to renting tools. Third piece of advice: make sure that you do this in good weather conditions. Okay, if it is too hot, you're gonna burn out. You're definitely gonna burn out, and you're gonna actually feel it at the end of the week. Okay, and maybe that is something that is not necessarily. This can easily be an early spring job or fall work. Okay, I can even say it can be done in wintertime. -5, you can still manage, and to get something like this done. In the middle of summer, it's just way too freaking hot. Way too freaking hot to do something like this. Very well. Getting help. You will definitely need help for a project like this. Especially when you do 7 feet, it's a lot of physical work. You're putting a lot of energy, upper body energy, and you can easily burn out so quick during the day. If you think you can work 8 hours doing this, I'm telling you, you gotta be a pro. Okay, you're not gonna be able to do this, 2 guys all day long, 8 hours or 10 hours a day. That is insane, unless you're 20. But most 20-year-old kids will never even take or think about getting a job like this, because I don't know, they're smarter than I am, and they just go and do something easier than something so physically so intense as to setting up a fence like this. Okay, so when you're gonna get the help. It can be in the skill level. It can be a 3. It can be a 4, right? You can do the measurement, you can do the cutting. You basically need somebody who is it's strong enough to help you lifting and setting the fence as you tie the fencing to the post. Okay, now very important, and this will be my 4th piece of advice for you guys. Make sure that the person that you're working with has a good attitude, somebody who can take the heat, somebody who can communicate, and is not gonna get upset easily. Because when you work in this heat or in the cold doing this kind of work, it can most likely you'll have an accident. Like by the time you lift this up, one of your hands are gonna get crumpled into the wire, and I mean, it gets frustrating. So you have to make sure that you work with somebody who has that right attitude and a good level of communication between the 2 of you or the 3 of you in order to proceed. This particular project, I work with a guy that is he very hard to get along with it, and I don't think anybody in this company would have done the job with him. Most people in this company will simply just walk away from him. And this particular project happens to be that I have that ability. I can tolerate. It goes to show you the level of difficulty you can encounter when you do a physical demanding work with somebody who doesn't have that level of patience that it's required to do something like this. I'll be honest, there was few times where I basically just I just bark back. I wasn't able to contain. I walk away like a couple times. I says, hey, listen, I need a break. I'm just gonna go have water and whatever. He will calm down and realizes that he was tense also, that he's stressed, and you can see him sipping water or whatever. Once again, 4th piece of advice. A lot of people don't talk about this. You have to work with somebody where you guys have a good level of communication. Otherwise, it's going to be a frustrating endeavor and somebody's going to get hurt. That's exactly what you don't want on a project like this. And my 5th advice, okay? If you are going to take a paying job to do this kind of work for somebody, let's say you're a handyman and one of your customers asks you to do this, make sure you do the research, the proper research on pricing and your ability to do something like this in a proper time, getting paid correctly, and for you to make money. Because you can easily be misguided by advice that you read on the internet, or you can easily mislead the person who thinks that you're gonna get this done for a certain amount of money. You don't want that, okay? Do the calculations, take your time, and make sure that you price this right, okay? Otherwise, you're gonna lose your shirt, or if you don't lose your shirt, you're gonna have a very angry customer saying that you're a liar and a cheater, and you didn't deliver what you promised. And that's very important. Keep that in mind, okay? And basically that's all I have to say about this type of work. I'm glad that I did it, because now I know what it takes to get something like this done. I'm glad I went through the process of getting this done, and the learning experience. I say that I'll take a job like this, knowing what I know now. Again, this is not the kind of work that you want to do daily. This is young man work. Basically, you just need young people to help you, and somebody who's just gonna be good at details and just make sure that everything is right. Thank you for your time. I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys soon.